Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you for watching this video. My name is Pinky is Crazy, and today I got a story for you. As you already read on the title of the story, I got a gun pulled on me, unfortunately, and these things do happen. Don't fret in life about them. And I do want to say that first, before we start this video, please leave a like. If you like the video, and if you just want to support a small creator, please leave a like, as it will add more people to want to watch my videos more of. And that's what I want. I really need more people, more viewers, more people see it, more judgment. If people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. Then I'll be satisfied with it, and I know what works and what doesn't work. But since I'm a small YouTuber, I would greatly appreciate that. Second, I am doing this new thing where you can pop a story down anywhere in other videos of mine. You can leave a story down. I will then screenshot them and put them in different categories, and I will start my own YouTuber users send me videos, or not videos, but stories, and I read those stories off and I do them for you, and I put them in there, and I'll put in there your name, unless you want to keep anonymous. Just put it on the very bottom unless you want to stay anonymous, and I will then post it in there and read your story off and try to add some fluff to it, as I'm going to do with this story. And if you like that, then feel free to let me know that you want me to fluff your story or whatnot. Third thing I want you to do also, if you can, I would definitely appreciate it, is to subscribe. I know there's a lot of kind-hearted people out there that subscribe to people just to subscribe for them, and I'm one of those people that would love to, and I do it myself, subscribe for other people, so that's how I know they're out there. To subscribe to me, even if you're not going to watch my videos, even if you don't care for them, at least subscribe to help me be able to reach those people that are interested on these videos and would love to watch these videos like you are now. So I would greatly appreciate if you subscribe there, put that bell notification, especially if you are interested to listening to more stories like this, and make sure you voice your opinion in the comment section and through the likes. 10 more likes, I'll make another story. I have a lot of stories in my life that I'm covering, and I would definitely love it if you left your feedback. But without further ado, let's go ahead and start the story. It was a June warm sunny day. It was warm outside. The wind was blowing, the critters were calling, raccoons, possums were going back to their dens to hide, sleeping trees, hiding hollowed out logs, the cats were meowing outside, and I woke up to a particular banging sound from my kitchen. As I laid there in my bed, waking up groggy from the night before, where I had been drinking and partying with my wife, I was just now waking up. At this time, she wasn't my wife, she was my girlfriend, but do not be confused, as I will be referring to her as my wife through this, even though she's my girlfriend at this time. And my daughter, that I refer to my daughter, is not my daughter. She is my wife's baby daddy's daughter, but I refer to her as my daughter because I teach her as if she is my own and treat her that way, where she gets no exemptions of any kind, and I make sure that's known through this. So let's go ahead and start it. As I said, I woke up this morning to a bunch of banging and clinking coming from the kitchen. Now, I should start, when I get out of this bed and I take a step out from the doorway, we live in a trailer. It's a very small trailer. It's about as big as a school bus almost, but a little bit wider, like a 18-wheeler almost wide. So not super wide, but just wide enough for people to live in. It was my wife, me, and my daughter. Now, we'll start from, you walk up the porch into the door. The door is in the middle of the trailer. It leads straight to the kitchen. If you're stepping in the door, you look forward, you'll see the kitchen there. And if you pan right, you'll see the entertainment center, where we do all of our gaming. She has a PS4 that we would play on there, play Fortnite, other games on there. And there was, on the entertainment center, there was glasses and mugs with mixers and shot glasses where we would take shots out of, and still sitting there on the table as we were really tired, so we went to sleep. I wake up to my daughter making these clinks, and I walk down this hallway. I walk down the hallway, and to my left is the kitchen. The kitchen is where we have a stove, countertops wrapping around a corner, and a refrigerator, and then we have a mini fridge that when you exit out of the The hallway, you can see the mini fridge is literally right there. It's like a countertop, extra countertop, but it holds excess food that we get when we get SNAP benefits, which we'll get into that in a second. Now, when I walk into this kitchen, I see my daughter smashing these eggs on the floor like she's Flintstone, trying to figure out what rocks do to eggs. And she has two of them in her hand, and she's just clashing them together. And it kind of makes me really upset, and I get really angry. And this comes down to the fact that, as I was going to say, we had SNAP benefits, but unfortunately they had got cut off due to lack of information and transparency with the social services. Social services had failed to let us know that they needed more information, they lost our information and needed a new packet of it so that they could do their quarterly check-in, see what we're making, job application, stuff like that, of that nature. And they had sent a letter which had came 3 days too late to tell us at the time, which this was 3 days after that occurrence. Well, my daughter was busting these eggs up, and I got really upset because I knew this. I knew that not only were the EBT benefits and eggs are expensive, second, my daughter is very picky with what she eats, and in the morning it's either pancakes or eggs, and we didn't have no pancake mix, so we couldn't really make any more pancakes. So what ended up happening was the eggs. We have 3 eggs left. There's 3 people in the house. That's a lot of eggs gone. That could have potentially been 2 or 3 meals that would have lasted us a little bit further down the time while we're trying to get the payday and be able to start to get food in. After all, we got paid two times a month because we worked as cashiers, so we weren't able to get to the money in time, right? So I ended up getting really angry. I put a lot of bass in my voice, and I yelled at my daughter and told her that she needed to get. I more yelled at her first. What is she doing? She stood up really fast, frantically waving her hands around, really scared. Now at this time, I would like to mention, for a 3-year-old, she doesn't conversate a lot, and that's due to no fault to her own, but her dad. While her mother was out working 72 hours a week just to support them, he was inside playing video games and not really doing what he needed to do, teaching her to potty train, teaching her learning, conversating with her, trying to teach her to communicate better. So at this time that I had been with her, I've only been with her for 3 months, she was not conversating very well. And I had been working on it, and she was finally saying full sentences like, "I love you, mommy, what are you doing?" We were first starting to work on that. And she was working on the trusting phase where she comes over and asks me a bunch of questions about things that needed or that she didn't understand or needed help with. And even if she didn't understood it, I tried my best to explain it in different ways, whether drawing it, explaining it, examples, showing it, trying to really get her into it so that she understands. It worked, but in a kind of a bad way. But the issue why I bring it up with the ex-father is, or not the ex-father, but the baby daddy, is because this isn't the first time this has happened. This is the first time it had happened with me, but my wife had informed me later on that day that she had done this twice already, and all that had happened was they cleaned up the eggs, they put it back, she didn't get in trouble for it. So she didn't know that she was in trouble and shouldn't have done this, and that is wrong. So with that being said, we ended up moving on, and I tell her to go to her room in a more firm voice to let her know I am upset with her. She needs to understand it was wrong to take those eggs out and break them like that. And unfortunately, she won't understand if I try to explain to her why it's wrong, because her vocabulary isn't that open like it should. So moving on forward, she ran to her room and she slammed her door shut. That was another thing I was going to address, but I'd rather her just learn one thing at a time instead of overwhelming her and trying to make her understand all these things. That is just too much. So I let her do her. So I cleaned up, picked the eggshells off the floor, put the eggs in there. I into the trash. I went to go pick up a cloth from the sink to clean up the eggs on the floor, and that's when I seen that there was eggshells in the sink with more eggs droppings inside. So I took the eggshells and I washed down the eggs down the sink and threw the eggshells away. And as I threw them away, I had realized at this time and my grogginess that she had actually thrown eggs at the wall. And I mean thrown, like full on baseball, Robbie Jackson, I don't know what his name is, but like straight pitched it into the wall like she was a softball player trying to be professional. and she had just straight pitched them in the wall. So I had to clean that up and pick those up at the time. And it more angered me as it is laughing now, because, you know, I'm older now and I understand that some things happen, and it's better to show that you weren't happy with them, but it's also not good for you to really show your anger towards it, right? But I needed to let her know that it was wrong, and I did that by showing how upset it made me as a person, that she would understand that that made me upset, hopefully in a healthy way. So I picked it all up, threw it away. I went to the and while I was picking that up, I counted the eggs up, and there was 3 eggs and there was only 6. So that means that there were still 3 eggs left somewhere. I don't know where. So I looked around, and when I looked around, I seen that on the pan that we had cooked food the night before, as I told you, we didn't have much money and we were on the end of food stamps. The only thing we had was elbow macaroni noodles. We took some tomato paste and cut out some cucumbers and threw it in there. And she had taken the eggs, the other remaining eggs, and busted them in there, and I had to throw it away. After all, I don't want to eat that with the chance of salmonella and having it spew from both ends. And God forgive me if my wife eats that would be a really bad night there in and of itself. So we definitely didn't want that. So I ended up tossing them away and putting them in the trash. So I ended up dumping that and putting the pot in the sink. Well, at this time, I'm still very angry. I'm very upset. You know, I get that young anger. You know, I'm obviously still young, but I didn't know how to control my anger. So I'm walking down the hallway, and as I'm getting down the hallway, you know, there's this spot on this wall that's just bugging me. It's like it's giving me the mean smirk. It's feel like it's staring at me, like it's taunting me. So I turn around and I absolutely deck it in the wall. Now at this time I was thinking I was Superman. Like I was gonna take my fist, it was gonna go straight through the wall and straight through the aluminum outside, and I was gonna KO it right in one point, right? Well, that didn't happen. I'll just say that real fast. That did not happen at all. In fact, what happened was quite the opposite. The trailer beat me instead. So as I went to go punch the wall, my hand kind of jumped off of it and came back at me, and I kind of had to dodge it. And it even made me madder. So now I'm wailing at it, but I'm not wailing at it full strength. But I'm giving that wall the beating of its life that it's ever thought. Well, what I ever thought, which actually turned out that thing has been through a hurricane, has been through tornadoes. Me beating on that wall is nothing compared to what Mother Nature has thrown at that son of a hoe, right? So, with that being said, my punches and kickings and my screaming and whatnot wasn't doing anything to that wall at all. So, we end up transitioning to, in the middle of me punching, screaming, and saying, oh yeah, you're going to take that wall. Well, I know I'm not playing Fortnite, but yeah, I was going to take that wall, all right. And what ended up happening was, unfortunately, we're going to call him X-Bestie or Bestie X. We'll kind of give him a backstory real quick. Bestie X comes ripping through the door. And now when I say rip, I mean ripped through the door. See, the thing is that entire trailer is strong except for the door. The door was the only thing they did not compensate for. That door was literally 2 pieces of aluminum welded together with some foam in the middle, with a crafty little window made out of plexiglass so that you could see out on the other side, but you couldn't see because so much pollen had built up on it and seeped into the cracks of the said window. So you couldn't see anything there, really, through the window. So he had just ripped through it. Not only that, but that door had taken more beatings from my wife and I, and from her ex-husband and the past people she had living with her, because they loved to throw each other through that door. So that door was on its last leg. Not only that, a bunch of feral cats, now I call them feral cats, but they're my wife's cats and they just do what they please, would come in and rip the underbottom of the door where it looked like it had a lip. Like it was just deformed from the bottom. So it really wasn't even a door. It was more of like a makeshift, I'm going to cover half of it and the other bottom is just exposed. So if you want to tickle my toesies, you can do what you want kind of door. So he just ripped the door open. I literally just ripped it. You didn't even hear it. When that door's handle got twisted, you wouldn't hear it, but I could hear him rip it open. Like he was making sure that whatever was going on in that house, he was going to be a part of. and he just seen me laying into the door, or into the wall more, because I was trying to take that wall like I'm in Fortnite. And he just looks at me weird and says, "What are you doing?" Now, Exy Bestie, will give him a little bit of backstory. So, Exy Bestie, right, this guy over here has known my wife for 13 years. And before you go, "Oh, she's cheating on him." No, she already been with him, and she chose that after he broke up with her, that he was not the best thing. And the best part about it is, I kind of really want you to feel the way I feel about this guy. Not because, you know, he's an ex and I'm jealous. No, I want you to understand that there's a lot of reasons why I feel the way I feel about this guy. And I want to make sure that's pretty clear, instead of people going, he's just feeling his way because he's a jealous guy. No, I'm not. I am a jealous guy. I do admit things when I am jealous, and I let my wife know that what she's doing is making me jealous. But in this case, this guy does not make me jealous. In fact, he makes me quite angry, the opposite. This man has texted my wife multiple times, shown me the text messages, even told me of conversations where he told her that I'm no good for her and that I shouldn't be with her. Now, that's not his choice. Whether that is the fact or isn't the fact is not his choice to come up with, and shouldn't be his ability to try to conform it, mold it into his own personal being or belief. Like, that's not how this works. So, not only that, after he broke up with her, my wife smoked cigarettes. She smoked cigarettes because after they broke up, he offered her a cigarette and told her that she needs it so that she can calm down and relax better. Well, with that being said, she took it, still trusting him at the time, and smoked it, and she still smokes to this day after like 10 years, right? So she's been through all these relationships. He's been the shoulder to cry on. Nothing else has happened between them, from as far as I know. And I was friends with her before we got together, so she told me quite a lot. So I would be able to believe what she tells me from the fact of knowledge from what I knew before, from her telling me things. So he just genuinely was, in my opinion, a scumbag. There was nothing redeeming so far for him. Now, I'm a genuine guy, so I don't hold grudges, but it's really hard for me not to feel some type of way when I'm now fixing a lot of the stuff, and I won't really get into that, but I did end up fixing a lot of the trauma that he left with my wife in the future as we are, which is why we ended up getting married, because I was able to overcome them obstacles that she had stuck on her from the past experiences with exes, and especially him that he left on her. So she just kind of kept him around because she just felt she could only turn to him when things got really bad. So we'll just leave that alone. So that dude, to me, is not great. And on top of this, I'll cover that real quick once I get my wife. So I ended up getting my wife up. But before I get my wife up, as I'm turning around, I tell him what happened without really wanting to tell him, but I ended up saying, what's the harm of it? So I tell him what our daughter did this morning, and he steps in. Now, the one thing I will say is that she gets babied a lot, and she gets so babied that she knows that she gets babied, that she uses it to her advantage. When she knows she's done wrong, she cries louder and squeals louder so that other people will hear her, so that she'll get help. So from what the parenting was taught her is that she's able to do wrong, and people will be there to tell her that it's okay to do those things. And so she was looking for reassurance from Exy Bestie that came in, that she cried louder. And without a beat, my man took a step into our house and took a right turn to go to her room. And I turned around real quick and told him straight to his face, hey, no, you're not going to go in there and go talk to her. It's not happening. She is done wrong. She's in timeout. You don't need to go conversate with her. You can deal with her later after I have showed her that it is wrong for you to sit here and bust eggs open. Which, by the way, for the rest of the time we lived there, she quit busting the eggs open, and she actually listened to me more often. So there was that. The son started to sit there for a long period of time and just spoiled, right? Absolutely just spoiled on him. And so he ends up walking outside and going back out there. And so I went to go back to retrieve my wife, to let her know that, hey, your bestie Exy is outside right now and he wants to talk. Now, my wife just kind of said, oh, he's out there, saying his name, and kind of just covered it. Now, what I will say is my wife at this time wasn't really great on speaking terms with him because, well, unfortunately, a couple weeks ago, my wife and I had went fishing, and when we came back with our daughter, she said that she would like to have given her a bath. So, for my daughter's sake, she went to go give her a bath, but she wanted to also take a bath as well. So, in order to for time, water, and money, she decided that she was going to go ahead and, well, take a shower and bath with her. So she ended up doing that, and, well, the pursuing screaming started to start because my daughter at the time was not happy. As I had already told you, she's not very good at communicating and being able to express her emotions in a healthy way or a healthy manner without really considering other people's feelings. Like, as the saying goes, if you can't control your emotions, someone else will. So I wanted to make sure I got that around to her, that if you don't control your emotions, somebody will eventually in life control your emotions for you, and you probably won't appreciate that when that happens. So let's just stop the chit chat and stop that from happening. So anyways, she was screaming, and in turn, I was cleaning up the house. I was cleaning up taking the trash out. I was picking up the boxes, any trash that was laying around. I was doing that. That's what I was doing. That was my job. Not really my job, but more what I wanted to do, and so that's what I chose to do. And I ended up taking him out, and when I took him out, Exy Bestie was walking up. Now, Exy Bestie lives right down the street from us. When I say right down the street, he's like 200 feet from us. He stays in the same trailer park. We did it because he ended up moving there to be closer, even though his job's all the way out in Richmond. He ended up staying there a little closer. So yeah, that's what ended up happening. So Exy Bestie, that's what he did. Anyways, with that being said, he was ended up walking up. Now, I will say, after I dumped the trash and I came back around, I seen him walking up, not when I was leaving. Let's just clarify that. But maybe I'm a sociopath in this way. I knew he was going to hear the screaming and run in there and go see what was happening without no consequences or without even worrying really about what might be going on instead, or cautiously going in. So he ran into the bathroom, which is where my wife was, and she was in the shower with the curtain closed, obviously, because, you know, I'm there. And at this time, I didn't feel really comfortable at the time being alone with my daughter, because a lot of people have some weird spectacles that men that aren't the original dads do things to their daughters, and that kind of, it took a little while for that to get out of my head that, you know, it's my daughter, I'm taking care of her, and I'm going to do, if anybody else has any issues, they need to realize that that is my daughter and I am a caretaker. So you just need to screw off, right? Daughter just kind of stood there, right? Stopped the screaming and whatnot. And this is more like a second hand. I wasn't really there, but I could kind of hear it as I was walking up, because he had been there for like 2 minutes, because I had to walk through these trailers. So I wasn't really keen on trying to find out what was going on. Like I said, I'm kind of a sociopath for doing this instead of stopping it. I knew something like this would happen, but I didn't know the extent that it would happen. Well, he ripped the curtain over, exposing my wife's nude body and my daughter's nude body, and he didn't even look away. He didn't even bat an eye. My wife said that he stood there and argued with her about how she needs to control her daughter and stop her from screaming like this through the whole town, or more the whole neighborhood, I guess you'd refer to it, but the trailer park, to stop these people from hearing and thinking some really bad stuff is happening over here. And my wife told him to get out, and he just, instead of argued with her and said that she needs to control the situation, as he walked out. And I kind of came into the scene as he was walking out, and he has the smart remark of, I don't know why she's freaking out. It's not like I haven't seen this before, or it's nothing I haven't seen, is his exact words. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of people get a little fired up like that, especially when you're not respecting other people's needs, wants, and whatnot. After all, communication, one of the things I was expressing about with my daughter. And that's just one of the things that he just did not care to respect. And she made it clear that she did not like that. And he didn't like it. So after she finally got out of the shower and got dressed and came outside where he was sitting at in our lawn chairs, they kind of had a little conversation. And during that conversation, it didn't go well. See, he still was stuck on the fact that she needs to be able to control his daughter or our daughter at this point, and that she shouldn't be screaming like that, and that he was worried for her safety because she was screaming bloody murder, and that he didn't see her in the bathroom. And instead of thinking that we're all gone, and he had seen me walking the other way early on, so it wasn't like he didn't know that nobody wasn't there. I think he was trying to infer or try to trap that I was not taking care of our daughter in the way that I should. So that went south for him, which I kind of expected it to, unfortunately, and his circumstances. So when that had happened, he ended up going home. He didn't apologize that day. He ended up apologizing later. And when he got paid from his job, he had offered the night before all this had happened with the gun and everything that he would like to take us out to CC's Pizza. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to CC's Pizza, but that place is bomb with different pizzas. Like, they make pizzas. They got a little salad bar over there. It's really nice. You know, it's like Pizza Hut, but on crack, right? Like, they're making some wild crap up in there. So that's kind of what was going on in that time period, and that's what went on at that moment. So we were kind of just chilling out in the CC's Pizza, chilling out and, you know, eating the pizza. And one of the things that, you know, if CC sees this, I would really love it if they would mess with that Eggo Legos pizza or whatnot, with the Eggo crust and the cream they put over it. Like, they put some, what is it called? Some maple syrup on it, but it wasn't sweet. It didn't have any sweetness. I really wanted a sweet and sour type of taste, like salted caramel, but that's not what I got. So I was a little upset. Also, if you're from the South like I am, you love yourself some sweet tea. And unfortunately, their sweet tea was blah. It tastes like they took shoestrings that were on athletics feet after they ran a couple miles, or maybe even got a little piece of grass in there and dropped it in there, and that's what I was forced to drink. Now, I wasn't forced to drink it, but I chose to drink, you know, because I'm a sweet tea loving machine. I do love their Boston cream pizza. That's one thing that's very redeeming, is their desserts. The desserts are really good. You know, I personally love them. They're just one of the things that I would say that they knocked out of the world, other than like their supreme pizzas and, you know, all those good pizzas. You know, I'm really nice that you can order what you want. If you really want pineapple and ham, aka the Hawaiian pizza, you can get what you want, and they'll make it for you once there's an opening, and it's awesome, right? So I'm not down on CC's Pizza. So that's what we were offered to go eat, and what we were told that he would like to take us to. So that's why he was there so early in the morning, and that's kind of what popped up. So I ended up telling my wife. She kind of grudged him off, talked to him for a minute, but she was still holding that grudge from those couple of weeks ago, from the fact that he walked in on her in the shower and never exactly apologized in a proper manner when she was trying to express herself properly. And he just didn't care. As I told you before, he, in his head, it's nothing he hasn't seen before, and it was kind of infuriating. So with what he was doing, she just didn't really brush into him. So she went into our daughter's room instead and was like, "Hey, why did you do that? Why are you doing?" And instead of answering the question, she went trying to scream "mommy." And at this moment, it infuriated me because I just went through the same thing with her exy bestie. Don't go in there while she's stinking. And so instead of thinking she did bad, she wanted to be reassured that it was okay. Like, what she did was all right. And I went in there and reassured her, no, it was not. So I started to scream. And I wanted to not scream, but yell, firmly put my voice to make sure she firmly understood that what she did was wrong and that it was not okay, and that she shouldn't be trying to play the victim card as per se and manipulate. Even though she's a 3-year-old, she might not understand what she's doing, but she'll understand further on as she gets older that that's just how it works. It's like 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. That's what we learn. That's what she's learning from these situations. So I went in there to reinforce the idea that no, it's not okay what you did, and that mommy's not here to do that. And mommy reiterated that as I came in and said, no, you're in trouble. You done bad. I just want to know why you're doing it. She definitely was following up with some good co-parenting. I will say that during that time. Well, while I was screaming, I didn't even hear Exy Bestie walk in to the side of me. And in fact, when he had done that, I kind of noticed some movement to my side, but I didn't really look over there. As I said, you can literally see the front door entrance from her door's entrance, which where we were at. So he ends up coming in, and when he comes in, I hear him scream, "Stop it!" And I turn to my left, and what I see blows my mind. He has pulled out his revolver and has it aimed pointed straight at my head in a droop. Like, a way like it's a southern cowboy doesn't know how to handle a gun. Now, I understand the idea of the droop. The droop is that, and I know that's like the weirdest thing to be thinking about when you have a gun put on you, is he is holding that firearm so wrong, it literally makes me want to vomit inside. He's holding it in a loose stance instead of using his thumb and his index finger and then his other three fingers to keep it straight, so that when he shoots the gun, the recoil goes straight down instead of up. So it was really hard for me not to want to hate on him holding the firearm. Like, if you're going to try to shoot me, at least shoot me right. Don't shoot me in the wrong way. Like, if you nick my heart, I'm going to have to suffer because you don't know how to shoot a firearm. Like, at least do it humanely if you're going to do what you're going to do, right? So I kind of just look at him and I'm like, whoa, like, what's going on here? And I kind of back up to my wife and I grab her and I'm like, hey, go talk to your exy bestie. Like, this dude needs some conversation. So she goes to talk to him and she asks him what's going on as she comes out. And he just kind of backs away, puts his gun back in the holster, and kind of runs away. You know, like the Cinderella scene where it struck 12 and she needed to get back home. Yeah, that's kind of how he was running out of the door with his little dress shoes on. So he went running back down to his trailer and he ended up pulling off. At that time, I'm like, I probably need to call the cops. Now, the reason I called the cops is the one thing that a lot of people need to understand in these situations is people don't just snap, right? You have people out there that you read and hear about on a daily basis who have done some pretty shady stuff in their past and then done some really off-the-wall crap. Like, for example, Jeffrey Dahmer murdering his mother and eating her. Like, a cannibal. Like, there was a lot of subtle signs, and the show that we watched on the documentary of Jeffrey Dahmer definitely illustrated that the dude wasn't normal and that there was nothing really normal about the way he spoke or the things he did. And it was kind of like a red flag. But in this case, if somebody does something illegal, it's best to report it. And even though it might suck for those people that are getting reported, it's better for them to get reported so that they can start correcting what they're doing. So for future reference, if somebody pulls a gun on someone and doesn't pull the trigger, but next time they do pull a gun on someone and they do pull the trigger, it's a little different story, right? So you want to report these things so that people are able to go back, look in the history, and see that this person was known to have pulled firearms, pulled knives, or, for example, set fires to hotels, which is another story for another time I'll definitely tell. That's just insane, right? So, as he ran away, I had called the cops. The cops came over, and I kind of just explained to them what had happened. I told them they came over. I was yelling at my daughter. She had done busted some eggs up. He didn't like that very much, and he basically needed to I needed to file up a police report. Well, at that time, I was like, you know what? I will do it later when the time comes. Because at this point, I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to take this to court. I just wanted to leave a paper trail. Kind of left it in the police database. This guy is a danger to the public. So if I get killed, they'll be able to know where to point to and say, this dude did this. This is the guy. We had already had a report on him. He never reached out and put out charges yet. But at this time, you know, I kind of relaxed and let it go. And during the day, I was like, I called him like 3 or 4 hours later, and I kind of talked to him. I told him that I'm not going to press no charges on you, that I understand you're going through a tough time, because literally the night before, we were just talking about him committing suicide. Now, he was communicating it. He was communicating that he doesn't feel a type of way, and that he needed to support his friends, so he came over to my wife and I, and we supported him as much as we could, as my wife could, as she was still kind of off-put by the fact that he walked in on her from that day, so she kind of wasn't fully committed to it. And in fact, I would probably go as far to believe that as fucked up as it sounds, she probably wanted him to, in my honest opinion, from that, because that's just how she thinks and feels. I mean, a guy walks in on you, you're nude, and doesn't really apologize and doesn't see anything wrong with it, and then, it's the build-up of things. And I was kind of highlighting that to my wife as we were together, and also him talking behind my back like a snake in the grass, letting her know that I'm not good for her and those kind of things. So, you got to understand my wife has a lot of stuff going through her head mentally, and, I wouldn't go as physically, but that's what she was kind of thinking about. But it's kind of what I kind of felt or read off on the vibe. But, I was trying to be nice, and I kind of told him that, hey, look, you don't got to do that. Things are fine. It's going to be okay. Just give it some time. Why do you feel this way? What's making you feel this way? And, it's the struggles of life and whatnot. So we were just having a conversation. So I'm assuming this was because of that. I assumed he had some issues going on that he felt he couldn't really explain very well or really communicate to people. So I figured that was the issue, and I figured I needed to reach out and communicate with him after he pulled the gun on me. Well, insanely enough, after that, after that phone call, we went to CC's, and he had the gun still on me. He carries this gun everywhere. I've never mentioned it, but he carries this gun out just to go pick up some pizza or something. Like, when we were at his house playing video games and board games and whatnot, he literally had, in his entertainment center, he would put his handgun up there. He used to have a Beretta M9, and then he ended up getting a 1911 Colt A2. So he just kept those guns up there on top of those shelves. So he literally took them everywhere he went as an everyday carry. Everywhere. So the gun was still on him when we went to CC's, which I kind of already briefed in and told you what happened when we get there. They were serving the Egos pizza, and that was it, and we had a great time. Well, later that night, my wife has to go to work. She went to work at 9 o'clock. We're having a great time. I was playing my video game. I had put our daughter to sleep after trying to get her to use the bathroom a little bit. She didn't really want to use the bathroom, but, I got her situated. Gave her melatonin because she has an issue sleeping, especially with her daddy gone at the moment. She was having some very issues sleeping and staying asleep from those whatever had transpired before I had got there. So I was respecting that and trying to help her and make sure she slept all the way through. So with that, she went to sleep. I played a video game for the rest of the night. Watched a few YouTube videos, hopped back on my video game, played some Enlisted, had some great time, Well, it's about 12:30 at night. My wife had gotten off because they have to close up shop at 12, and they got to count their till and clean. And the two of the employees kind of break up the time. At 11:45, one goes off and starts after closing their drawer. They go off and start cleaning, sweeping up the store, mopping the store, fixing anything that needs to get fixed, put beer back up, going into the bathroom, cleaning up, putting more toilet papers in the bathroom. Toilet paper in the bathroom, and those kind of things. And so she had came back around 12:30. At 12:30, she had finally arrived. She was excited. She had just got some alcohol. She was drinking, and she came in and was talking to me for a little bit, seeing what I was doing. And while I was playing the game, she's like, "I really don't think I should tell you." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "My exy bestie told me something, but I really don't want to tell you because I know the type of man you are, and you're not a person who goes down without a fight." And I was like, you're intriguing me. You can't be doing that if you're not going to tell me. She's like, "I really don't." Well, I had to sit here and pry it out of her, which part of me kind of wished I didn't, and a part of me just kind of said, whatever, I did what I did. So I ended up finally prying it out of her after asking her, like, if it's something about really important. And it was important. It wasn't anything like that wasn't important. No, Exy Bestie had went up to my wife's work, which she does almost all the time, which is how I knew about him for a while ago, because I was friends with my wife about a year and a half before we got together. Ended up finding out that Exy Bestie, like usual, was going up there saying some wild off-the-wall stuff. In this case, he was talking about how he's going to shoot up my family if I think about or even want to go out and report him for brandishing a firearm. I had already told this man earlier before that I wasn't going to do that, and him telling me that, I'm like, you know what, fine, I'm going to go do it. I went to the magistrate's office, I reported him. And that's the end of that story. Now, I do appreciate those for coming out. I want to say thank you. If you like this video and you like the story, leave a like. I know I said it earlier, but leave a like if you haven't already. Share it with your friends if you want people to hear it. And also, if you really like these videos, subscribe and hit the notification process so that we can get you set up, start having you watch my videos when they come out, and you can see them in your notifications. Also, leave a comment. Like I said, I'm doing a story where if you tell me a story that's went on in your life, I'll read it. I'll give you credit unless you don't want me to, and then I will also tell me about times where you've done through things or similar circumstances that have been traumatic or how they affected your life in a different way. Now, I did go to court already, and that's a long story as well. That's like a whole 6 months of storytelling to put in a video. So if you like to and you want to, ask for part 2 down in the comment sections, and I'll eventually end up releasing part 2, as it will be probably a long process to tell because it happened a lot and there was a lot of things that had happened during that time, instead of it just being a simple court case here, said, and done. So until next time, my name is Pinky is Crazy, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye, guys. And ladies. There's ladies out there.